Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. And to those of you who have joined us over the last week, welcome! Welcome to the Lunar Squadron. We are very happy to have you. Now, in our previous video, we took a look at the brand new character list showcased in the gameplay overview trailer for LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, and we identified all 63 playable characters showcased in the trailer. In this video, we are going to continue our breakdown series, but we are going to shift focus into a brand new feature in the game. We are talking about character classes, and by the title of this video, we are going to be starting with the Dark Side character class, as it is the one that was showcased the most in that gameplay overview trailer. We're going to tell you everything you need to know about the Dark Side character class going into this game. We're talking perks, we're talking new force abilities, we're talking upgrade system, how to upgrade these perks, and a few mysteries along the way. We got you here at Lunar Squadron. We got you covered going into this game. But before we get into this video, we have a brief message, don't we?
That's right, Nick. We have a message from our sponsor, Bosk. This video is all about the dark side, and we all know that Bosk had his stint working for the Empire. So Bosk, what do you make of the dark side? Are you excited for this class?
I saw its rise. It troubles me little.
Thanks, Bosk. Now let's get into the video.
This is Lunar Squadron standing by. We are ready to make the jump to hyperspace. On my mark, Lunar Squadron.
Thankfully for us, the gameplay overview trailer gave us a lot of insight as to the different classes in this game. If you guys will recall from our character list breakdown, on the left-hand side of that menu, we got a live look at the 10 different classes in this game. It's 10 if you include the gray, basic, or common class, which is represented by that stock LEGO silhouette at the bottom. However, we know that there are 9 other classes. We know that there are Jedi, Dark Side, we have heroes, villains, we have scavengers, scoundrels, bounty hunters, protocol droids, and astromech droids. This time around, we're going to be doing a deep dive into one of these classes, the Dark Side, because we actually got a pretty in-depth look at this class. We got to see pretty much every single one of its subclasses, as well as a few specific upgrades within this specific class. So there's just so much to talk about here, right, Nick?
Yeah, there is a ton to talk about going into the Dark Side. Like you said, this is the one character class that we got a definitive look as to what it's going to be all about. We got to look at all of its subclasses or perks, whatever you want to call it. We're still trying to figure out what exactly we want to call it. I think I'm becoming more comfortable with referring to it as perks, just because they're not exactly abilities, as you will see in this video. They actually impact the force abilities that you have as a dark side character. Now, when it comes to how these perks operate, they reach a max level once they have been upgraded 3 times. That is how many times that you can upgrade each sub-level or perk, and that is indicated by the colors around the circle change from blue to a goldish color, and there is a star that is then shown below the circle indicating that you have maxed out that perk. Now, there are 12 total upgrades per class that you can have, because there are 4 perks or 4 subclasses, and each can be upgraded 3 possible times. Now, when it comes to the Dark Side class, there are 4 subclasses or perks, and they are Fear the Dark Side, Power Push, Force Crush, and Dark Rise, and each has its own special thing that it brings to the table. Now, I want to start off with the very first one, which is Fear the Dark Side. I am personally calling this a passive ability, and what this perk or class does is it impacts the level of fear, which will be showcased by that AI character running away, that enemies and civilians in the environment will have when they are in the presence of a player using a dark side character. Now, when you upgrade this perk, it appears to impact both the percent chance of AI characters that they will run away, as well as the distance range that your scope or your character's scope will have over enemies, meaning how far away you can be from the enemy to kind of assert your fear upon them. Now, you see this indicated by the description of the subclass or perk, where it says reaching a matched level gives you a 15% chance of imposing fear on AI and increases the distance to a much further distance. Now, the one thing I do want to touch on, Andreas, before we move on to the next perk, is the fact that this actually potentially confirms one of the details we were wondering about from our video where we talked about 5 details you may have missed from the gameplay trailer, where we were kind of speculating on whether or not AI would react responsively to the type of character that the player was using. We used the example of the Ewok bowing down to C-3PO as potentially an indication that that would be the case, and this Fear the Dark Side ability appears to confirm that that is going to be the case, as enemies and AI will cower in fear from dark side characters such as Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, Count Dooku, Darth Maul, and many others. It's cool to see some sort of confirmation for something that we were kind of thinking had a very good chance to be in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this just confirms for me that I'm able to use Darth Vader and recreate the Tantive 4 scene at the end of Rogue One. I can, go down the hallway and see all of the rebels running, in fear when I have this ability all the way up. Another interesting ability here is the Power Push ability. This ability is one that we have classified as an active ability because, unlike the passive ability, Fear the Dark Side, where players are going to be running around, notwithstanding your button inputs, in this ability, whenever you use the Force Push ability, which we already know this ability applies to not just the dark side, but also the light side. We've seen footage, of Anakin in the Battle of Geonosis, in the arena. He's force pushing a few droids, sending their parts everywhere. We know that this Power Push is going to apply to both Jedi and dark side. However, this specific subclass or perk, whatever we want to call it, augments that ability just for the dark side. Upgrading this ability will not just increase the number of objects and enemies that are pushed back by the force push, it will also increase the range at which the push is effective. At maximum level, which is the level that we see in this trailer, Power Push provides a, quote, large increase to range. I'm not sure how large that increase is going to be. It doesn't give us like a distance or anything, but based on what we've seen from this trailer where, you're launching a Gamorrean guard, I'm thinking this could be pretty cool. Like, you could be throwing back characters and the objects next to them pretty damn far. I mean, Vader yeets that Gamorrean guard at least 2 football fields. It is just a very long distance. I'm very excited to start pushing things around in this game, right?
Yeah, and what's really cool about this perk and the next perk we're going to talk about, and what's a really cool detail about it is, and I think why we're so comfortable calling these perks or subclasses and not abilities, is that these perks actually deal with the abilities. These are not the force abilities that you are going to have. In fact, they actually just impact the capabilities and power of the force abilities that these dark side characters are going to have. Nowhere on this list do we see anything in regards to Force Lightning, but we can all assume that Count Dooku and Emperor Palpatine are going to have Force Lightning as a power, as it is showcased by Palpatine in the trailer, and Count Dooku showcases it in the film. So their characters not having that ability would just be a mistake. So these perks are more so just impacting the abilities and capabilities and power of these Force abilities. These are not exactly the Force abilities these characters are going to have, and I think that is an important distinction to make going into this game and going into this breakdown. Now, the next perk we are going to talk about, which is the third perk in the Dark Side class, is the Force Crush. Now, I have listed this and described this as an active ability, and that is because this perk deals directly with the Force Grab ability of dark side characters, and it allows the player to damage enemies that have been Force Grabbed by dark side characters. So what this does is it increases the capabilities of the Force Grab character. It's not the perk that allows you to use Force Grab on enemies, it allows you to damage enemies. Now, it appears that each additional level reached for this perk actually dictates the amount of damage that a player can deal to an enemy when they are Force Grabbing them. At the max level, Force Crush allows the player to deal a, quote, large amount of damage to enemies. The most interesting thing about this perk, and I think what really is the big thing to take away from this breakdown, or one of the big things to take away from this breakdown, is that this is the first time that we see that these perks actually interact with each other and have impacts on each other. Underneath the description of the Force Crush perk, there's actually a small disclaimer that indicates that unlocking Dark Rise, which is the fourth and final dark side perk, will actually allow players to force grab non-droid enemies. So until you fully unlock the Dark Rise perk, you will only be able to deal damage to non-droid enemies when you force grab them. It's also interesting to note here that in the footage from the trailer for the Dark Rise perk, it's only been leveled up 2 out of the possible 3 times, but the disclaimer about unlocking Dark Rise still remains. So this potentially means that a subclass needs to be a max level before it is considered fully unlocked and they are able to impact other perks. Now, let's jump into that Dark Rise perk.
The Dark Rise perk is actually the perk that we kind of get to see the most of, just because it isn't upgraded all the way. So we get to see not only the current level, but also the next level as well, the interface for also upgrading the perks as well as the cost. So there's a lot that we can actually get from this shot here. The Dark Rise ability, which is another active ability like we've been talking about, directly impacts the power and capabilities of the Force Lift ability of dark side characters. Again, just to reverberate what Nick was saying, both light side and dark side heroes, I'm talking about Jedi and the dark side here, they will be able to force lift. We know that. We've seen different characters on both sides of the aisle use the force lift. However, this Dark Rise ability will upgrade your dark side character. So if you find yourself using dark side characters a lot and you want the force lift to be more powerful for those characters, you're going to want to put more of your studs and your Kyber Bricks into this class and this subclass of that class. So at the current level that we can see on screen, the player gains the ability to throw non-droid enemies with the Force Lift ability. So what that means is probably level 1 will only allow you to throw droid enemies, whereas level 2 will allow you to throw non-droid enemies as well. Now what we see here is the layout for purchasing a subclass level. The player is told how many Kyber Bricks they're able to spend, as well as the price in terms of both the studs and the Kyber Bricks. You can see from this image that it shows you how many Kyber Bricks you have to spend, which is clearly the amount of Kyber Bricks that you've collected up until that point. And then the cost for this particular level is 50,000 studs and 12 Kyber Bricks. I would assume that the price of these will increase the higher level you get. For example, maybe the first level will only cost 10,000 studs or 1 or 2 Kyber Bricks. It remains to be seen what the economy in this game is going to look like, but it is worth noting that the stud counters throughout this trailer are incredibly high. I mean, this one right here shows almost 2 million studs, so there's going to be plenty of studs in this game to go ahead and collect. And then you're also able to see in this interface your current level as well as the next level, so that you kind of can see ahead and know what you're putting all of this hard-earned money and Kyber Bricks towards. So you can know, if you see a level 3 ability that you're really excited to get towards, you can start putting, a lot of your resources into that particular subclass, which kind of just gives you options as to how you want to play this game. It means that no two people are going to be playing through the game in quite the same way. You really get to exercise your preferences in that way. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. I was very thankful to actually see that they didn't just showcase a fully maxed out character, and we got to see what maxed out levels will look like, as well as, like you said, the interface for what non-maxed out levels for these perks are going to look like, what it's going to be like to purchase these upgrades, how much it potentially might cost. You bring up a very good idea and a very good point about the fact that it's probably going to be scaling in terms of how much it's going to cost. With this being the max level upgrade that this player is seeking, it makes sense that this will cost a substantial amount of studs in the total of 50,000 for this particular upgrade, which is a lot when you take into consideration how many levels you're going to have to be upgrading across all kinds of different character classes. So you're definitely going to have to be racking up the studs or the Kyber Bricks to be leveling up your characters in the game. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is, in the intro, I said that there were some mysteries about this character class, and that's kind of what I want to talk about here and kind of open up the floor to you to perhaps give your ideas for what exactly you think this means, because we here are not particularly sure. Now, if you take a look at the bottom of the screen, it appears that players will have the ability to deactivate perks. You can see there is a little button that says press to deactivate. I'm not quite sure what the point of deactivating perks would possibly be, or what the incentive to do so would be. Andreas and I kind of floated a couple ideas. One idea I had, and then Andreas, I would like you to share yours, is I said perhaps you will be able to maybe get some sort of refund in terms of studs or Kyber Bricks when you deactivate them. Perhaps you can level it down, or some sort of... There has to be some sort of incentive to deactivating these perks, and I thought maybe it would provide some sort of kickback in studs or Kyber Bricks in case you wanted to allocate them towards a different character class for that particular moment. Other than that, I'm not quite sure what the incentive will be. What was your idea?
Yeah, the only thing I could really think of here is maybe, you are used to playing the game without, for example, all of the NPCs running in fear whenever they see you. I'm talking, directly about the Fear the Dark Side subclass. And you just kind of want things to return to normal, where you can use Darth Vader and kind of walk up to people and hack and slash them without them running away from you. So this is a good way to toggle some of the abilities that you find to be annoying. However, I'm not quite sure why you would be annoyed by, this ability. It seems very cool, and I also don't know why you'd be annoyed by, dealing more damage or having a further ranged push. So maybe it is like you're saying, Nick, and it's a way to reallocate resources. If you regret a purchase, you have some buyer's remorse, you can go ahead, get your refund, put it towards another class that you end up using more. There are other games that utilize that mechanic. However, we're just going to have to wait and see what they end up using this for in this game. Luckily though, just like we've said throughout this video, they really did give us a lot of details to go off of here, and they really gave us a lot to talk about and a lot to look forward to with this game for all of the other classes. They also gave us some information for those other classes, most notably the Scavenger class, which we might get into in more depth in later videos. So please let us know in the comments down below which of these classes you would like to see us break down next, as well as which dark side characters you are most excited to use in this game. Also, which of these abilities are you most looking forward to in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, specifically these subclasses or perks for the dark side. Also, which class are you guys going to be using as your main class? As for me, who knows? I honestly think I'm going to resonate with the Jedi the most. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I'm thinking Jedi as well, Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah, it's definitely the Obi-Wan. And, I'm probably going to be using Grievous as well, a great deal. However, Grievous is probably going to be a villain character because he does not have the Force abilities here. So it's going to be interesting to see, what he gathers from the, from the villain side of things. We're going to get into that later. However, for now, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.